Hello and welcome to this demo video for the GDPR activity trackers. This is a two spreadsheet set, one for the controller and one for the processor. But before I get this started, let me just say a few things about the spreadsheet. First of all, it does not make you GDPR compliant. We're not guaranteeing anything. GDPR compliancy is it's a massive kind of thing across all aspects of your business, and no one tool or one um, uh, spreadsheet or one software package or anything like it can make you GDPR compliant. So please, it obviously depends on what you're doing with this, how you're putting in the data, all that kind of thing. But what it is designed to do is it's designed to help you as best as we can to spot any issues with the data that you are putting in. What this does is the ICO have specified that everybody needs to keep a kind of a track of their data streams, where all the different documentation is and what they've done on various data streams. So this spreadsheet is actually based on a template that the ICO put out a while back. I don't know if it's still available or not, but they put out a very basic spreadsheet just with a few headers, and these spreadsheets are based on those. So it's capturing the kind of information that they want kept on record. But what we've added to it, obviously, is just to check the data that you're putting in and making sure that you haven't forgotten anything or missed anything, and that everything is as correct as far as the system can tell. Obviously, you've got flexibility as to what you put in, what data you put in there, so we can't check everything. Hence the fact that it's not guaranteed. But we do try and make sure that there aren't any obvious omissions of data. So let me show you how these work. This is first of all the controller spreadsheet. It's the bigger and more complicated of the two. The other one's very simple. So I'll show you how this one works. There are some links to the demo videos down there. Your business name should be in here. I put my business name in there if you have bought this spreadsheet. If you're using a free trial, you can put your own business name in, because obviously the other limitations are set. All right, so that's the intro and setup. You can read through the instructions, but essentially there's the controller details page where you can put the contact information of the controller, data protection officer if possible, and representative if possible. That's fairly straightforward. It's just like filling in a form with your contact details. These details don't go anywhere other than on the spreadsheet. Your report, which will show you the contact details and just generate 6 KPI figures, basically just showing you where there could potentially be a problem. If any of these turn red, then you know that there might be an issue, and you just want to go and check it out, what it relates to. And lastly, you've got a few drop-down lists. I've left that blank on purpose. I'll show you where that comes in. But these different Article 6 lawful basis to put Article 9s, and then your data protection bill, Schedule 1. You can adjust these. You can just change them in here. Whatever you put into these drop-down lists will appear on your activity records, which we're going to get to in a second. So that's how you update those lists. Now, the activity records. This is the main spreadsheet. This is where it all happens. The other ones are really just supporting this page. So what does it do? Well, these are the columns that the ICO set out as far as what they need, the data that we need to obviously keep track. So we're going to have the business function. So each stream of data would have its own line, and this is the information you select. The business function, the purpose of processing, and so on and so forth. This is the name of the joint controller. Just these are all if there isn't a joint controller. But let me just go through how these columns work. The first one, how this works is if we go to a new one, we'll see that it's got some drop-down options. If we add a new function, so for example, we write in here new function and we click enter, it immediately shows there's some yellow there and there's some red crosses. What that means is we haven't completed all the data that's necessary. So we've got to go through. This is what I meant at the beginning by saying we'll help you to do it. You've got to go and fill in something in those columns. But now let's have a look at the next one. If we go there, now all of a sudden new functions on there. Because how this works is every time you add in the new one, it will then add it to the drop-down list. So when you get to the next one, you can go to the drop-down list and just select new function again if you want to. So that just helps you keep a bit of uniformity. So you don't maybe misspell something later on and have two different things, even though it's the same kind of thing, the same function. So every time you add a new one on, it adds it on, and when you remove it, it takes it off of the drop-down list. So that would be the kind of general rule for a lot of these columns. Some of the other columns won't necessarily have that, but let's just go through and see. That's the same. So you can add your purpose for processing. Uh, these ones over here, they don't have drop-down lists. They just let you put in the person's details. If you do have a joint controller, you can put their details on the list. If you have a joint controller more than once, you can just put their details in, highlight it, right-click, copy, and come down here. Don't paste, but just use paste values. By using paste values, it'll paste. It won't change the formatting or anything like that. It'll literally just paste the text that's in the other row. As we move along, exactly the same. Category of individuals, categories of personal data. All of these things you can put in. As you add a new one, it adds one for you. The link column. Now the link column is slightly different. It doesn't have a drop down list. What it allows you to do is put in, you can type any word there that you want. You can type in link or whatever it is that you want. Then you can right click and go to link and actually go to existing web page or whatever. You can actually link it to the document that you want it linked to. So say for argument's sake, that is the one that you want it linked to, and you can click OK. Now it'll create a link that'll actually open up that other document. Now, there's one thing I do install. If you want to remove that link and you right click, there is an option there to remove hyperlink. But if you do that, it actually ruins your spreadsheet because it actually clears that cell of all formatting and goes back to the default, which means it sets it as locked. And because the spreadsheet's locked, you won't be able to access that cell anymore. I don't know why it does it. It's an Excel thing. But if you actually click on edit hyperlink to open it up and then you click on remove hyperlink, it then removes the hyperlink, but it allows you, it leaves the cell with the old formatting, so you can at least change that. So you can either put non-applicable or you can actually put the link in, and if you put the link in, right click, do add link, and select the file that you want. These ones here, same as last time. As you add them in, they'll add that onto the drop-down list. You've got your retention schedule, you've got where this data is stored, security measures, that kind of thing. You can put that in as well, and again, once you put it in once, it'll add it to the drop-down list. Now these articles here, Article 6 and 9, those are the ones that were on the drop-down list option, so you can't add new ones on here, but you can on the drop-down list, and as you click that, it'll give you a list of the ones that you've got on your drop-down list options page. As it is with that, these ones here are all these ones that you can add on as you go along. That's another link as explained. These again adding on, so they all fall into one of those different categories. Some of them you have it's a question, is data protection impact assessment required. You just got yes, no, not applicable. You can select the one that you want. Other times you may be asked for so for argument's sake, your data protection impact assessment progress. How far are you progressed on this? You can put in 90% or 50%, and as you'll see, it'll change color accordingly. And 100% once you're done. Leave it blank if it's not applicable. If you've got a link, again, same story. And here you got, has a personal data breach occurred, yes or no, all those kind of things. Here you got your data protection bill schedule 1. As you can see, it's blank because we haven't added in any. So if you see that it's blank, you can go here to your drop down list and you can add some in here, which will then show. The other ones, some of these other ones where it adds on as you go along, if it's blank, just add in a new one and it'll put it on the drop down list. More links and more yeses and nos and reasons, again adding on as you go along. So that is essentially how it works. Each line would be each thing of data. Now each line would be each data stream. If we remove something that needs to be on, it'll go yellow, and as you can see on the left hand side here, it says the red section is not completely completed. So when you actually select the right one, it'll go on, and it'll do that for all the different color sections. Now you can see here there's nothing typed in, but it doesn't go yellow because that's an optional thing. Some of the other columns you need to put something, even if it is not applicable, the spreadsheet just wants you to put something in to make sure that you've thought about the whole process and you put in as much information as possible. So if any of those show up as a red cross, it'll show on your report. It'll also show you things like personal data breaches, how many data breaches haven't had a record, so you can see what's happening there. Number of entries with a joint controller assigned. Now some of these aren't necessarily bad. Some of them, they're not, it's not a problem. It just shows you what's happening. But if they change color to red, it might be something you want to at least take a look at. And I think that's all to actually explain on this spreadsheet. I'll very quickly show you the other one, which is the processor one. It's exactly the same, except it doesn't have the drop-down list options because it doesn't need them. And also, if you go to the processor, it's a processor name rather than the controller name. And the activity records is much more simple. It's only one color. It's only some of the red columns. You don't have all the other different categories, but it's exactly the same kind of concept as the other one. The report will show slightly different things. In other words, number of injuries allowed without a link to the control contractor. So they have different KPIs showing, but the same kind of principles. If they change color and you want to have a look and see what's going on. So these reports can be saved as a PDF just to, if someone says to what's the situation with your reports, that kind of thing. So yeah, I hope that makes sense to you, and I trust that these will help you with your business. These, as I said at the beginning, don't take this as if this is right, you GDPR compliant, because GDPR compliance is much bigger than just what's on the spreadsheet. But I hope that it helps you to get your ducks in a row and to make sure that all your data streams are well processed and that you know exactly what's going on. So I wish you all the best with this, with these two spreadsheets for you and your business. Thank you very much. Goodbye.